Hello again. It is still, as you can see, Friday, January 16th. This is a continuation, or intended to be, of the demo I did in class. I have not made a backup copy of this, and this is exactly the way we left it in class. I don't remember exactly where we were, but I know I was commenting out a bunch of stuff because I was replacing it, and now it's confusing me and it's getting in the way, and it's hard enough for me to think this late in the afternoon, and I'm starting caffeine again. And any other excuse, please insert here. That was me taking a swig of iced coffee. Let's see what this does to get back where we were in class. And that's the royal we. I don't remember where we were in class. But I'm tapping on letters. I think that's where we were last time, tapping on letters, and it shows up down here. So at least we haven't lost any. Oh, I know what we did. We were making a real live existent model and view model. So here's the content view. Here's where the action happens. And the content view now has a connection to the middleman, the view model. It has its very own view model variable, and anything it wants to know or anything that it needs to know. Well, actually, I'm getting this backwards. Anything the model needs to know that's going on in the view will be passed backwards through the view model. Nothing gets passed forward into the view. The view is supposed to just magically detect when the model is changed and update itself. And we'll deal with that when we have to. But let's see here. It will let the view model know when something happened so that so the model can be updated. How will it know? Well, let me see here. We are right now, all we're doing is saying that it tapped on a letter. What we need to do in addition to that is call a function that yet does not exist. I'm going to call it choose letter. And all this stuff, oh my goodness, we're going to, as observed in class, we're going to have to go back and reconsider all of the variable and now function names. I'm going to say choose letter at, and we want it at LTR option .id. And if you don't remember from class, a letter option is like the little package deal that abstractly says everything there is to know about the abstract key on the screen. It's got the letter. It will eventually have the color. If we need to change the color of a keyboard color to a different color, it has whether or not it's selected. And the ID, I'm using as the ID number, it's indexed in the symbolic constant array. So this is saying, view model, someone tapped on this letter, and I want you to choose the letter at, and at is the name of a parameter we're passing to this function that doesn't exist yet. And it's going to need to report that ID back to the view model so the view model can let the model know about it. So backwards one step, we go to the view model, and here in the view model, if I'm going to call that function needs to exist. And that will be func, our very first function, and I'm going to call it choose letter, because that's what I'm calling. That's the function I'm not calling it. And oh my goodness, this thing is so smart. I think I will take that. At index, I'm not going to do that. Okay, choose letter at index. Now, let me look at this. This is the first time we've seen this. In the content view, I said this is the name of a parameter. We're passing in the value of a parameter. Letter option .id is passed in as the value for parameter at. And down here in the view model itself, in our choose letter, look at this. I've got two things, at index. When you read about functions in Swift, and we will get up to that, you can have two names for each parameter, as if one name wasn't confusing enough. This is the external name for that parameter, and index is the internal name, which means whoever calls choose letter will have to say, I'm providing a value for parameter at. And I hope I can flip back and forth in these without getting too confused. Here's parameter at. I've got to specify a value for at. So in my view model, it's known as at coming into this function, and inside the function, I will be using the local name index. These are two different names for the same parameter. At is what they used to call it, and index is what they use internally. And if you're wondering, why do I keep saying that over and over again? Because I'm trying to solidify it in my own mind. I'm going to print just to keep up with where I am. And a convention that I'm adopting is now, since we've got all these different files that serve all these different roles, I'm going to prefix at the beginning, this is model, where I am. I'm in the view model. I am trying to choose a letter. That's true. Trying to, I hope I do, trying to choose letter at index. And now I've got to use the internal name because I'm inside the function. And it knows that. So it completed it for me. Thank you so much. And now I've officially got to try to choose it. And that'll be way back in the model. So what's happened so far is the view is calling this function, and this function is going to turn around and call a similar function in the model, and I'm going to call it a different name. I'm going to call it this one select letter. I think autocomplete wanted to call this function select letter, so maybe it'll be happy with this. Select letter, and I could call this at again, or I could call it index. I'm going to call it, oh my goodness, look what it's doing, index. I'm going to call it still at, just so I've got a different parameter name, still at, and yes, index. So talk about a go-between. This is doing nothing here but window dressing. This is trying to call a function named select letter. Here we are. Here's the view over here, symbolically speaking. Now we're at the view model. And way over here is the model somewhere. And this is trying to pass that index number back to the model, and it's passing it through a parameter named still at in a function named select letter. Help me remember that. So here we are, again, in the model. And in the model, of course, I need to have a function. And this will be inside the model so that it's a package deal. You can put functions inside structures or outside structures. This will be func, and I called it select letter, didn't I? My memory goes as my brain function goes at the end of the day. And I called the parameter not at, but still at. Look at me remembering stuff. Maybe the caffeine is working. And internally, I'm still going to call this index, just because I'm running out of variable names. So this variable has two names as well. Whoever calls it has to provide a value for the parameter I'm calling still at. And inside my function select letter, I'm going to call it index. So here comes our first real life function. And I'm going to put a print statement right off the bat here. This is the model trying to select letter number slash index. The autocomplete is just ridiculously good, but just like real chat GPT, it can sometimes lead you astray. Now then, I don't want that. Go away. Go away. What do I need to do to make you go away? Not turn on caps lock. There. How many times do I have to make you go away? There. Went away. Now, here's the deal. We're trying to select a letter option. So that should be simple enough. Letter options. Index is selected, not toggle, but we want is selected to be true. Is selected as true. And what? I'm going to print a message on the way out. Print. This is still the model. And we'll tell it what the current letter is. Current, well, no, I'm not going to do that. That's complicating things unnecessarily. And we've already got an error to fix here. Cannot assign to property self is immutable. Structures are immutable, which means you cannot have a function that changes any of the variables, including just a piece of the variable. This letter options here, index is selected. I can't set selected to true. This is what those array elements look like. And I'm trying to set the array element that the user chose way, way over in the view. We're 2 layers away now. The view called a function indirectly through on-tap gesture to the view model, and the view model is now calling the model. And after all that trouble, we can't change it. It turns out you can cheat, so to speak, and make it a function that can change the structure, but you have to explicitly make it a mutator. M-U-T-A-T-I-N-G. And that's a key word. You'll notice it changed the special color. Mutating function select letter. So selected index equals true. Let me see if I broke it. Oh, please, oh, please. Oh, please, not break it. I click on D. Let's see what it says. Tapped on D. The view model speaks first. Trying to choose letter at index 2, 0, 1, 2. Model, trying to select letter number 2, 0, 1, 2. Mental note, those index numbers are the index number of where they are on the keyboard. But wait, that's the same as where they are in the array. I'm confusing myself. The index of the key is the same as the index of the letter in the array. Okay, let me try a different one. G. Tapped on G, trying to choose letter at index number 4, trying to select letter number 4. It's looking like it's going, this should be 0, please, oh please. A, and yes, view model first, trying to choose letter at index 0. Model, trying to select letter number 0. And Houston, we don't have a problem. This seems to be working okay. What we don't have is a way for still to see which letter on the screen is selected. So what we can do, let me see, what can we do? Whose responsibility is that? I think that's a keyboard key's responsibility. So let's come back here. And if you are a keyboard key, and what? Your letter data, which holds everything there is to know about that letter that you hold on the screen. Let's say that that letter data value in letter option, which is in the model, so many files. The letter option has a Boolean variable is selected. And we just now made it so that the model can set that to true. So it's no longer false for whatever the user clicked on the screen. It's now true, and we want to see it. We want to see it show up. So let's go to the keyboard key, and instead of, here's how I'm going to do it. Instead of setting a line width to 6, I'm going to make the line width dependent on whether or not it's selected. And to get at that, I need to type my local variable, letter data dot is selected. And that's a Boolean variable. And I can do, of course, an if then else. But you may remember, I hope you do, maybe you don't, but there is a question mark operator in Swift, just like the one in C++. And I'll review that for you in case you forgot. Let me see if I can get the errors to go away first. Yes, I did. Here's what, this is a very abbreviated if then else for a special case. This looks to see if the value of this expression is true. Letter data dot is selected. Are you true? If so, then the outline will be 12. If not, then the outline is still a 6. So for the selected letter, it should make a thicker outline of 12. So many things that should happen that may or may not happen. Let's try it out. There's our keyboard. I'm choosing G. Well, we got all that output last time. I'm choosing D, and I got all the stuff I got for D and H. No big deal. It's not doing anything different at all, which seems to violate what's supposed to happen. This is part of the view, and when we change the view, when we change the model, when we change the model, this is changing the model right here. Remember, these letter options, this array of letter options, that belongs to the model, and those are an abstract representation of the keyboard on the screen. So when this is selected true, then the keyboard key should detect that and update its own letter data and make it selected. Ladies and gentlemen, let me see if I can find my notes on this. I do recall this. This is the most cryptic, magical, complicated thing that I ever figured out, and I only did this through searching many videos, and I've got the link to it somewhere. I'll have to track it down, even though the video itself is pretty complicated. Here's the deal. In the content view, I have to say that this view model here is not just any viewed model. It is technically an observed object. It's something I'm going to keep my eye on. OBSERVED, all one word, object. If you wonder why it starts with an @ that's yet another flavor. Oops, stop running. That's yet another flavor of Swift UI, syntax weirdness. It's called a property wrapper. And now I have wrapped my view model with this observed object chain, so the content view knows that it's supposed to be paying attention to what's going on in the view model, so that if something changes, it needs to update itself. Now, in order for that to happen, the view model has to proclaim that it is an observable object. So we've got to have that protocol there. Observable object. I'll see if I can tab into existence. And there it is. It did work. And does not conform to observable object. The reason it doesn't conform to observable object, all this weird stuff here, oh my goodness, that was even weird in the videos. It turns out if you're going to be an observable object, then you have to publish something. So whoever is observing you will know that something has changed and act accordingly. So here's another property wrapper. I have to use @published. So far, we have the view way over here observing the view model, which is now an observable object, and we have a published variable, the model, which is the one that if that changes, then whoever is observing the view model should, I thought I just now fixed that. Oh, this is the most cryptic error of all, perhaps. It turns out that this won't work at all unless you import combine. And I feel like that's a legacy include file, and all the errors magically go away. You, ladies and gentlemen, you have no idea how much that little bit of typing, how much pain and suffering and trial and error. I was beginning to think I was going to have to call this whole thing off, that this is just not working the way it's supposed to, and I don't know how to make it work. And I don't know that I've made it work now, but I have got something that I think we can at least try. Oh, please, oh, please. Let me run it and see if it does anything different. Click. Look at that. Look at that. It is paying attention to the letter S. I like that. So now I'm going to select letter S and press my luck. And it was subtle. It did select S, but Houston, we have a problem again. H for Houston. It's not unselecting the letters. You know what? I am not going to press my luck this late in the afternoon. I'm going to make another add-on video because I have a feeling that this might take some trial and error to fix. But at least we do have some effect on the screen of what's going on behind the screen in the model and the view model. It took all sorts of incantations and magic words and hopping to parallel universes again. But that's where we are right now, and I'll finish the rest of it in just a second and unhighlight the ones that are not selected. But for now, I'm going to stop running Swift. And if I can remember how, I'm going to swap this video. I think it's Shift-Command-5. See you in the next video.